Students united will never be defeated. Students united will never be defeated.
I think it's really prevalent, as we were seeing the results of the survey from last year, and it showed that 50% of Melbourne Uni students had experienced sexual harassment on campus, and it's disgusting.
Amongst uni students it's very prevalent, I'd say. The amount of people who I know who have been through something, there's so many things that count as sexual abuse that people aren't aware of.
I like to think not as much because we're meant to be sort of higher educated or whatever, but I hear a lot of stuff about the colleges, so I feel like it may be a lot more prevalent than one would initially think.
It's been kept quite under wraps. It's not something obviously that the university wants to not condone but discuss, because then it will obviously create stigma around the university, and that trade-off between our student safety versus the image of the university is not something that should be even considered.
Part of the issue of sexual violence on campus is due to, things like victim blaming and things like that are prevalent throughout society. Of course, with like colleges in other countries, we've seen that that's like a big factor. Where you're just all together, you're young, and you're out of home for the first time.
Statistically, you're more likely to face an attack by someone that you know. It isn't taken seriously enough, and because of that, it keeps becoming reinforced, especially at parties and clubs. There is a stigma of victim blaming, but was it serious enough to report?
People feel like they have a higher ground. You feel as though you're an equal to everyone else, so why not almost? That there's this privilege surrounding it.
There are more opportunities for it in a way, as horrible as it sounds. There's purely more big nights out, pubs, people getting drunk, people being more vulnerable.
It might be easier to hide within such a big community. Or maybe when you go out to a nightclub, you go preparing with the mindset, okay, there are going to be some shady people around, whereas in uni where you kind of think, oh, safe space, and then that doesn't turn out to be so true, yeah.
You're kind of coming from a bubble, from school, you're kind of getting into the bigger world, so you're more vulnerable.
It's a lot of pressure, frat boy sort of culture where, if you know the abuser or the perpetrator, you would be persuaded to not speak up.
Reporting is really difficult, so there are a range of factors why people don't report incidences like this. So just reporting the mechanisms to go through, you have to talk to the police, you have to talk to the university. Depending on the services that are offered, it just might be really inaccessible. That's definitely a factor that impacts the low reporting numbers, as well as just societal stigma.
No, I wouldn't have any idea. Oh, wow.
No.
Cosmo?
No idea.
I think the policy currently is the university is allowed to go to police once they report, which is bad also because it doesn't protect confidentiality.
It's quite heartbreaking to see when you've got a friend come up to you and say, this happened to me, I don't know what to do about it, when the solution should be so clear. The university needs to do more in order to foster that environment in which the solution is clear.
It's not going to be something that you search out, right? And it's not going to be something that you're going to put front page you're at uni, welcome to uni, here's how to report, a sexual assault, because it's worst case scenario kind of issue that you don't want students to have to go through. So obviously then it's publicised quite poorly. If you were to go somewhere, your first stop would be Safer Communities, which is a department of the university, I guess, that deals specifically with if you have any issues like sexual assault or bullying and harassment and things like that. In the case that it gets taken further, after that initial reporting, it'll go to a general misconduct. The number of real tangible punishments, so expulsions, they're disproportionate to the amount of cases that are reported, so they're quite low. So that's an issue across the board.
Ideally, it would be to educate the people who are committing the violence, the harassment, and get that out of the way, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Make knowledge of the avenues to go to for reporting more accessible, so people know it's not something you need to look into, it's just something that's going to happen. And if you need a report, there's no problem reporting.
Calling out casual misogyny, things like that, I'm sure societally that helps.
It needs to be spoken about, to guys and girls, what's okay, what's not okay, and just get a ground basis of, right, this is where I stand and this is who I can go to if this does happen to me.
The university needs to have a more focus on counselling. create more availability of counselling session, more confidentiality surrounding that as well.
Maybe like an online,
like a social media
that you
thing.
could talk to someone, you know, even over the phone, because a lot, you know, it's a lot harder to talk about it face to face maybe.
Making safer communities more accessible and actually like promoting it more.
I want to thank everyone